This is a very good video to watch if you don't have a reliable way to multiply digits, or indeed you're a bit rusty on your own method to multiply. I'm going to show you how to use a method that's commonly known as the Chinese method. First thing to do is to write the digits in a form where there are the 3 digits at the top and the 2 digits going down the side, leaving space inside those digits for a box that can be split into as many columns as you have numbers going across the top, so 3 columns, and as many rows as you have numbers going down the side. Finally, you're going to split each one of those individual squares in half diagonally from corner to corner. Now we're going to multiply each pair of numbers in turn, putting the answer in its relative box. So 5 times 4 is 20, the 2 part goes above and the 0 part goes underneath. 5 times 6 is 30, like so. 3 times 4 is 12, so the 1 part of the number at the top and the units, the 2 part of the number underneath. 3 times 6 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. And 6 times 6 is 36. The reason we've split all of these boxes in half diagonally are to create these diagonal columns, which we're now going to add up. I'm going to block off the other columns in turn so that you can see where the individual columns are. There's always only one number in the first column, and the sum of this column in this instance is 0. Here's the next column, and the sum of these numbers, 8 plus 3, is 11. I'm going to put the units down and I'm going to carry the tens across, and I'm going to add that into my next column. So I have 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 6 is 11, and this extra 1 is 12. Put the 2 down and carry the 1 over. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 3 is 8, add in the extra 1 is 9, and the total of the last column is 2. The answer is now wrapped around the box like so. So we see that 635 multiplied by 46 is 29,210. The beauty of this method is it works very simply when multiplying decimals. I'll show you how to do this. Setting up the sum in exactly the same way as we did before. Drawing our box, again, fitting in between those numbers. Splitting the box into the number of columns we have numbers along the top and the number of rows we have for the numbers down the side. Splitting each individual square into half diagonally, top right to bottom left, and multiplying our numbers, putting the tens in the top and the units in the bottom. It is fair to say that the most difficult part of this calculation is actually laying out the box in the first instance. Once you've mastered that, you will have very little problem in doing this method of multiplication. So there we have our multiplication, and when dealing with the decimal point, if it's at the top, as you can see it there, it just drops straight down that line and lands up at the bottom in between the 9 and the 1. So our answer here is 4,349.1. In my last example, I've already done the calculation, and I just want to show you how the number is affected when there are two decimals in the sum. The decimals move down and across. At that point they collide. When they collide, they just slide. So the decimal point will appear between the 9 and the 4. Our answer, therefore, is 144.90. No one really likes to do division sums. I'm going to run through the method commonly known as the bus stop method for dividing large numbers by a single digit. You can see here my sum is 2,142 divided by 6. Now you will make your job a whole lot easier if you start out by writing down your 6 times table. That means all the hard work, working out 6's, is done all in one go. There we are, the 6 times table up to 10 times 6 is 60. The 2,142 part of the sum is the part that appears inside the bus shelter, and the divided by 6 goes outside. In my head, every time I take a number, I'm saying how many of these are there in this individual digit. So how many 6's are there in 2? And there are none, because 2 is too small. So above the 2, I'm going to put the 0, and I'm going to carry over that 2 to the 1 to become 21. Now I want to know how many 6's there are in 21. So I look at my counting in 6's and see how far I can get before I actually go too large. And I can see that is 18. 1, 2, 3 6's make 18. So it's the 3 I put above the 1 in my sum. I now have to work out the remainder. To count on from 18 up to 21, I have a remainder of 3. And that is what I now carry over to make the number here 34. How many 6's are there in 34? I can get as big as 30 before I go over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 6's make 30. The remainder from 30 to 34 is 4. And then the last part of my sum, how many 6's are there in 42? 42 is actually in my 6 times table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 6's make 42. So the answer to my sum, 2,142 divided by 6, is the number that I have above my bus shelter, which is 357. I'm going to show you one more example. This particular sum is not going to come out into a whole number. So when I write the sum, I'm going to write the number 498 inside my bus stop, but I'm going to extend it by adding zeros. I haven't changed the value there of the number, I've just made it longer by adding those zeros. And I want to divide by 8, so I'm going to write out my 8 times table this time. There's my 8 times table, going up to 10 times 8 is 80. Now I'm going to begin my division. How many 8's are there in 4? 4 is too small, so there are none. Carry over the 4. How many 8's are there in 49? I can get as far as 48, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eighths. 48 to 49 means there's 1 left over. How many eighths are there in 18? And 16 is as far as I can go this time, which are 2 eighths. And my remainder from 16 to 18 is 2. So you can see what I've done. I've skipped over the decimal point to put my 2 next to this 0 to make a number 20. Before I go on though, I'm going to put the decimal point in exactly the same place in my answer. I'm now going to continue. How many eighths are there in 20? Again, I can only get as far as 16. There are 2 eighths in 20, but this time my remainder from 16 to 20 is 4. How many eighths are there in 40? I look down my list and 40 is in the 8 times table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means I've got 5 exactly. And you'll see the answer now. It is a decimal. It's 68.25.